Okay, I know that I said I was going to do my top three right after Raw, but honestly, Raw pissed me off so much on Monday that I was like, screw it, and I 86 the entire thing. But now I decided to do it, so here is my top three, which means one from starting from three and going all the way to one. So this is the final part of my list. This is part three of my top 10, starting with number three right now. Right here, man. Now everybody knows what this shirt is. Everybody knows what event happened with this shirt, or everyone. You pretty much actually have an idea of who my number three person is. And no, it is not Triple H. It's The Undertaker. The Undertaker is fear personified. If you see this guy live, you will literally pee yourself. You will freak out at the sheer sight of this guy. He's like 7 feet tall and just pure. I mean, he just this evil pumps out of this guy when he comes out as the Undertaker, and especially during an event. My goodness, does he literally bring out the ambiance when he has all these druids coming out with their torches, and then during a casket match, legendary. I mean, for real, he has definitely invented the casket match and Buried Alive, and seriously, he shined in all of them. Even if he didn't win a few, he shined in all of them. And there's one match in general that nobody can touch, even when he retires, is this match right here, baby. I'm talking about the streak. The streak has not been touched. He is 19-0. I was blessed enough to see WrestleMania 27 in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, and saw the match. The match was epic. It was the best match of the night. It beat all the matches. My goodness. This guy, he gave it his all. You can tell when he was in the ring. He brought out vintage Undertaker. He brought out his tombstone. He brought out every move in his arsenal. And he still won, but he was completely flat out. He had to be dragged out of the ring. He didn't even move when he was on that gurney. It was incredible. When he comes out, he definitely gives it his all, and he makes his fans feel it. It's just a shame that his injuries are so bad. We have absolutely no idea if there is going to be a streak match for this coming up WrestleMania 28. That's the only messed up part about it, is that his injuries are so bad that he's kind of like, it's kind of like in limbo right now. But the guy is epic. When it comes to a match, he brings it, and he brings it all. Whether or not he's the American Badass, or whether or not he's the Dead Man, the guy will bring it. That is why he is my number three. But the reason why he's not higher is because, well, my number two choice kind of was the beginning of the entire thing. Moving on to number two. My number two guy started it all. In my opinion, he definitely, if it wasn't for him, the WWF would not be as mainstream as it was. And I am talking about Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the man in the 80s. He was the 80s. When it came to the WWF, before it was the WWE, it wasn't as mainstream as it was until Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant. After that, not only did his career take off, but it definitely put the WWE on the map, and it definitely started Vince McMahon's idea for merchandising. And if it wasn't for him, then the WWF at that time would not be as mainstream as so much in pop culture as it is today. I mean, even now that Hulk Hogan is retired, he is still in the mainstream. He's still in the limelight. If it wasn't for him, his family wouldn't be as popular as they are now. Well, only Brooke. I don't know about the son and the mother and everything. But either or, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, Brooke Hogan would never be noticed. She would definitely be still undiscovered. And the WWE would definitely be non-existent. It wouldn't even be WWE. It would be the WWF. Way behind the scenes. It would not be as mainstream as it is now. Hulk Hogan definitely did inspire a lot of wrestlers to be who they are today, especially the ones that everybody hates. John Cena, my number 7. Now, John Cena, he inspired tons of other people that are out there now. The list is like endless. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, the WWF would not be as so much ingrained in everybody's minds in pop culture, and WrestleMania would not be as popular as it is now. Don't get me wrong, there are other wrestlers that definitely did make their moments, but Hulk Hogan was the 80s, and he was the person, he was the rocket that actually shot the WWF forward to the position that it is now. But even though Hulk Hogan played a huge role, especially when it came to The Rock, because before I get into my number one, before The Rock ended up becoming more mainstream and going into movies and all that other stuff, and since he did kind of, break off with the WWE films, Hulk Hogan is the one that started it all. He was the one that actually was in films before anybody else was, and they consider that selling out. He did it when it was not even thought of. He did it when people hated it, because all the wrestlers stuck to being wrestlers. They never thought outside the box. Hulk Hogan's brand was so strong that he decided to go outside the box. He didn't want to wrestle the rest of his life because he knew what it was doing to his body. Him and Vince McMahon came up with the idea to go mainstream and go outside, but Vince McMahon wanted him to stay where he was because he didn't want to forget where he came from. But Hulk Hogan went far beyond the wrestler that he is. He became a brand. And he became the 80s. He was the man of the 80s. Even though Suburban Commando and he was in Rocky. He was in the first Rocky. I think it was the first or second Rocky. I thought he was in a Rocky movie, which was huge at the time. Suburban Commando sucked. But still, he was in his own movie. He was in several movies at that time. He became his own brand. And he was the one that became his own brand before any of the wrestlers in this era and the WWE era decided to go outside the box. He was the one that went outside the box when you were in danger of selling out. He could have literally lost his career if he actually did it at that time. But he was the first to do it. But now going on to my number one, without this man here, nothing would be possible. And I know all you WWF/WWE fans know who I'm talking about. This is my number one. Now we have finally reached number one. My number one man on my list of the top 10 WWE wrestlers. This man, without him, none of this would be possible. The WWE wouldn't be possible. WWE films wouldn't be possible. The Attitude Era would not be possible without this guy. And you know who I'm talking about for all those WWF/WWE fans out there. You know who I'm talking about. I am talking about Vincent Kennedy McMahon. The sheer reason why Vince McMahon actually started the Attitude Era, let alone the sports entertainment side of wrestling period, was to make himself a star. That's what he wanted to do. I mean, he barely knew his dad, but when he actually got into the business and his dad passed the torch on to him, his main goal was to be a star. And he had the entire business at his disposal. Not to mention that when he actually decided to make Hulk Hogan, bring Hulk Hogan in the mid-circle, not only did he become a star, his feud with Vince McMahon actually made Vince McMahon a star. And when Vince McMahon started the Attitude Era to actually to go against the WCW, since WCW was so popular at the time, Vince McMahon became a huge part of the Attitude Era, and he became part of one of the greatest feuds of all time. Well, not really of all time, but one of them. He literally somehow added other brands of wrestlers. Like, for example, when WCW went under, he made it a part of the storyline to where his son ended up buying it. And then they ended up feuding. Then Stephanie bought ECW, and then they ended up feuding. And the funny thing is, the WWF owned them all. And they were all feuding with each other. That was crazy at the time. But that was an awesome feud. There were several brands of several wrestling brands feuding against each other, but owned by one brand. And that was the WWE. He actually allowed each brand to be competitions. I mean, to become competitors against one another. And they were competing in his own brand. And he was making more money at that. That's genius. Not to mention the fact that he was part of one of the greatest feuds of all time for me. And that was his feud with Stone Cold. Good grief. That feud went beyond the Attitude Era, and it kept going on until he became a part of the corporation, and he ended up turning heel when he was already an anti-hero, which doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, it still worked. And then he started the corporation in recruiting The Rock, and then The Rock ended up becoming a part of it. He became heel for a little while, even though he really sucked as a heel, but, you know, in a way he's kind of a heel, but not totally. He's kind of an arrogant face. But either or, the fact is that Vincent Kennedy McMahon literally started the best storylines of that era. And he, yeah, I'm not going to lie, his views have been subpar as of late. His storylines have been lackluster for both brands as of now. But for crying out loud, the guy's almost in his 70s. Not to mention the fact that, yeah, you're like, wait a minute, he's not a wrestler, he's an owner. For all those people out there who are real fans of the WWE, and I'm not talking about like, you know, like fans that just got started. I'm talking about fans from the Attitude Era, beyond there, and then starting up to now. Oh, for those that actually read about Vincent Kennedy McMahon, he actually did wrestle, and he was darn good at it. He was a good wrestler. The only thing is, he would let you beat the crap out of him for the sake of business, for the sake of TV. He would let you beat the crap out of him. But the guy was stacked. Oh my gosh. Have you seen him on the cover of Men's Fitness? That's all him. Don't get me wrong. The guy's been using steroids, and he came out and said it. He's been using anabolic steroids. And you can kind of tell if you see the little pecs and how, you know, they kind of change. But either or, those guns were his. I mean, he may have had some enhancements, but they were his. The guy has a body that of a good grief. He doesn't have a body of a 70-year-old. He has a body of a 40-year-old. He looks pretty darn good. Maybe not now, but back in the day, he actually did look good. So honestly, without Vincent Kennedy McMahon, there will be no Attitude Era. There will be no PG Era, and I know half of you will be like, yay! But there will be no other era beyond there, especially the 80s, that practically started all for me. That man is a genius. Even though you're thinking of him now like, oh gosh, he's just old, he's just ornery, he don't know what he's doing. The man is still a genius because he gets you watching. That's the one thing I can say. No matter how bad Raw is, no matter how bad SmackDown is, no matter how bad Tough Enough is, no matter how bad Velocity is, no matter how bad the Saturday Night Fights is, or whatever it's called, that Saturday Night thing, no matter how bad Superstars is, you're still watching. What do you say about that? I consider that genius. Well, that is my list of the top 10 WWE wrestlers. I'm probably going to do a Divas list later on, and maybe not now, but later on. But you know me, I'm going to probably do a Divas list. But thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment below if you like my list. If you don't like my list, still leave a comment below. Video response, that'll still be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. This is Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out, y'all. See you later.